Well, Annalise, just to pick up on that point, this is probably the last massive choreographed event that she can do now without going into some of those news conferences and interviews. Surely now this is the turning point, Annalise, where Kamala Harris does engage in more of that traditional involvement with the news media, because up until now it's been very cautious. It's been a choreographed, that's the word, isn't it, campaign to this point, and culminating with this massive set piece tonight, this much anticipated speech in Chicago.
And look, Kamala Harris gave a really good speech. It really hit a lot of points that her audience cares about. But you're absolutely right, she's not doing media. Kamala Harris hasn't done a press conference. She hasn't done a sit-down interview since she took over the ticket. She's answered a few questions to journalists on the sidelines of getting on and off a bus and getting on and off a plane. Joe, do you think that's a strategy that can last, that she just avoids media?
Well, it will only last if Donald Trump keeps talking about himself instead of talking about the issues that matter. If he gets it onto a debate about the things that are going to matter to everyday Americans, then Kamala needs to respond. Kamala Harris needs to have a plan. There's no plan at the moment. And, you know, I've been through so many campaigns where the federal director, state director, everyone says to you, what is your plan? There is no Democratic Party plan at the moment, none. And at least Donald Trump says, I'm going to reduce taxes. I'm going to build the wall. I'm going to stand up to X, Y, and Z. I'm going to make sure NATO pays its way. I'm going to let it rip on energy. There's a multitude of policies he has, most of them rehashed from his own turn. So there's not great innovation.
Well, then at least you know he's consistent.
Exactly. He's consistent.
Yeah.
But people know what his policies are.
Yeah.
And I think the problem here is they don't know what the Democratic Party's policies are going forward.
Do you think January 6th is still hurting them, or do you think people have moved on?
I don't know. I mean, look, I don't think it's a fight about the undecided voters, maybe 1 or 2%,
sacrifice
very
and
small
resolve
margin.
To bring a better.
The pollsters say they've gone back to the Democratic Party. I'm not so sure. I mean, I think it's a soft movement. Kamala Harris will get I think probably a 5% jump out of this convention. But as you mentioned a little bit earlier, with Kennedy announcing tomorrow that he's siding with Trump, if that's what really happens, he is currently polling 5%. And the question will be how many of those will go to Trump? And will he actively campaign for Trump? So there's going to be a number of events over the next 75 days that are going to reshape the election. I still think it's far too close to call.